Welcome back to the Pure Playbook. I'm Dr. Dustin Bosson with the Dr. Nate Merhaut. Another great episode here on the Pure Playbook. I don't know what the hell I'm saying right at the moment and where I'm going. Thought I got overconfident there.
Nutrition boners.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, don't, because then it's going to have to upload and then you're going to have to, we can just let it roll. Yeah. Cool. All right. All right. All right, welcome back to the Pure Playbook. I'm Dr. Dustin Bosson with the Dr. Nate Merhaut. We will be discussing nutrition today. Is going to be on the timeline. We always like to think we're going to do this in 20 minutes or less. It never works out that way. So our apologies beforehand, but let's see where this one goes. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on the social medias. We got the Pure Playbook out there. We also have the Pure Athlete, which is our healthcare facility here in the St. Louis area. Here we go. This will be good.
Yeah. This one's going to be nutrition and how it can make or break your season as an athlete. So this is something that, not necessarily from a passion standpoint, but you're definitely more well-versed on this and the direction and recommendations that oftentimes we're giving a lot of our athletes. Not saying that I don't have the knowledge base, but
Right.
You definitely go a lot more in depth with what your background is, being biochemistry. And
It's the dynamic. That's why this
yeah,
works.
that's why, like we said earlier, there's that perfect marriage between us. I'll stop there.
It takes a team. It takes a village.
Yeah. So with nutrition and the important components of it, this is going to be a little bit more of a deep dive compared to what we've talked about in the past with nutrition. Some of the topics will overlap from what we've talked about in the last three with recovery and prevention and those kind of things that we've mentioned. But let's get right into it and talk a little bit about the role of nutrition as it relates to athletic performance. And I'll let you kind of do a little spin-off on just talking broad first, and then we'll get a little more details. But food as fuel and anything from macronutrients to micronutrients.
Yeah, this is, I mean, the foundational step is, and what I find is there's just a lot of people are like, what do I eat? How do I eat? And a lot of people just don't even know the macro side of this. So
what is a macro?
Yeah,
just start there.
Your macronutrients, exactly. So carbs, fats, proteins are your three main macros. Some people like to subdivide them out. I'm going to spare you that. But carbs, proteins, and fats. You can throw sugar in there as a fourth, alternate sugars. So carbohydrates, the body runs very, very highly on carbohydrates. It takes that. The brain, everybody here's like, oh, the brain runs on sugar, or they run on carbs. Yes. Proteins, your muscle building blocks, essentially. You can don't at me with the amino acids yet, but proteins are super essential for muscle growth, for tendons, ligaments, cartilage. It has a huge player in there. And then fats are good. And that's kind of a misnomer. Yes. Again, I'll spare you that soapbox as we're trying to be efficient, but fats are good. There are good fats. There are bad fats. There's saturated. There's polyunsaturated. There's unsaturated. Like there's all kinds of that, but there are a lot of fats that are good. Avocado is a fat. It's a very, very good fat. Don't sleep on it. So we're not going to get into, okay, what do I eat? That's going to be a whole different podcast, but carbs, proteins, fats, and there's a percentage of which you should eat. And what I really focus on, and you can stop me if you don't want me to go down this route yet, but it's male or female, what do you play, what's your expenditure, because there's all kinds of things we have to figure out, but the dynamic of what percent of carbs do I eat, what percent of fats do I eat, what percent of proteins do I eat, really depends on where you at in your season, what do you play, what position do you play, male or female, what's your age, what's your goal. And so you break that down, and 100% of your diet falls into these three categories, and how you divvy those up depends on that information. Yeah. It's essential. You have to know that.
One of the things I'll have you touch on a little bit later on is going to be even just the timing in those percentages, like right after competition, because that's a big one that we can just hone in on, but we'll get there in a little bit. But nutrition in general is going to be something that can help enhance performance. It can help enhance endurance, strength, overall athletic performance. And if we're missing that piece, then you can kind of decrease your performance in a sense by about 20%. And that comes from the International Society of Sports Nutrition. But just by honing in, tailoring your nutrition based on, like you said, sport, gender, timing of the season, you can increase performance by about 20%, which is awesome.
Your nutrition for what we're talking about in student athletes, okay? Student athletes, we're not talking about the parents trying to keep up at this point. We're talking about student athletes for this. What I'm about to say is how you look in the mirror does not determine how nutritious you are as an athlete.
Right.
You can look a certain way, have a certain physique, be built perfectly for whatever position it is you play or what you desire to look like. And it doesn't mean you are fueled properly. So just know that you can have the six-pack abs, you can be whatever physique you want, but just know you might not be fueled properly just because you look a certain way. And the other thing we haven't even talked about yet, when you break down the macros, but then you have the vitamin and minerals underneath it, the overlooked players of, is there too much, is there too little, and how does that affect things like transport and oxygen? Like there's just so much there. So there's a lot to this, but also for a lot of those young athletes, their physiques are, they are very aesthetically pleasing a lot of times, and they enjoy the way they look, and so do other people. Like, man, I wish I could look like I was 16 again, kind of thing.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're fueled properly as an athlete.
Right. And a lot of that has to do with, athlete metabolism, and, usually it's pretty high metabolism at that age. So there's a way you can somewhat get by in a sense, but there's also some costs of not doing it the right way, and we could talk about that. But let's get a little bit more into just the details, kind of metabolic knowledge on building the athlete the right way based on your body, specific sport, and how do we determine what someone needs. So get a little bit into that.
The basis of a lot of this is, I'm going to give a little bit of a long answer here, is you have to know what you burn. Like there is what's called a BMR, and there's multiple different ways to calculate this. There's some that are more efficient, blah, blah. So I'm just going to say you there's a calculation out there to basal metabolic rate. How big are you? What's your height? What's your weight now currently? What age are you? Blah, 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 blah. And whatever number that spits out, whether it's 1,400 or 2,200, and how much exercise do you do a day, right? It spits out like, okay, 2,200. That's your basal metabolic rate, meaning that's what your body needs every day to stay at zero.
Right.
You put 2,200 calories in because you're going to burn 2,200 calories. And I start with this because if an athlete wants to bulk up, if an athlete needs to lose or cut weight, if and this goes for you, parents can listen to this too, you cannot cut weight if you're eating more than you're expending. Okay.
Right.
Now you can change physique with the compilation of how much carb, fat, protein ratio, and you can take in 2,200 and you can change physique. But if you're trying to lose weight, cut weight, you can never outdo the equation. If you take in more and you expend less, you will gain, you will not cut.
The interesting thing, I'll stop you there real quick, is that is also very dynamic as they're growing, going through puberty and that kind of thing, where it's different based on, like you said, the parent. So that's ever changing, as well as you're trying to make changes, it's going to be ever changing because you have to recalculate each time those changes are made from a gross standpoint.
Right. So all things we take into account. So starting there is like, what's your metabolic rate? So that's where I start. And I might not do this on the first thing, but I have a good idea at this point of an athlete walks in, I can pretty much guess within a few hundred of what is their basal metabolic rate. The second thing we have to know is, what is the sports that they play? How many sports do they play? What is their age? What is their weight now? What is their desired physique? What are they, what do they need to do? What are they wanting to do? All of that has to be taken into account. What position do they play? A wide receiver running down the field every snap is a lot different than, maybe a quarterback dropping back to pass. Right. So what does that look like? Same with soccer. Are you a goalie? Are you a mid? Are you a defender? Like all of that has to be taken into account. And so that's kind of the basis of what I start with. And then outside of that, if you really want to get into the big hook, I guess, is it's like, we've created this. And I don't know if this is where you were going, but this is a student athlete's pure athlete panel that we have honed in and created to be able to look at, okay, what's going on inside of the body? Because we can do all these calculations. I can get as much external information as I need, and I can give you a plan of attack on how we're going to do exactly what we need to do or maintain or whatever it is. However, from a health perspective, I don't care what you want to look like. I don't care how much you want to perform, but from a health perspective, I don't want to make recommendations on anything if we don't know what's inside.
Right.
I can kind of clue you in, but if you want to work with me on that side of things, or if you want to work with somebody, take your student athlete to somebody else, if they don't do this, keep looking,
right.
Because it needs to be done.
Yeah. So then we can even talk a little bit about nutritional deficiencies that show up and how that impacts your performance, how that also impacts injuries and your susceptibility and lack of recovery from that standpoint. So from a nutritional standpoint, we touched a little bit last week on that being a key point on being able to recover nutritionally. And if you're not, let's just talk about the longevity of a season. If you're constantly depleting and creating a deficit over the course of a season, and you're also trying to peak performance-wise at a certain point of the season, that doesn't match up unless you're actually addressing it from a nutritional component too. So talk a little bit about that with what we do with the blood work and how we can basically pair the performance training along with the nutrition training, because that's also dynamic through a season.
Right. There's the analogy I use typically is a transmission, because I'm a car guy. There's a lot of gears inside the transmission. Some people might understand a watch a little better if you've ever seen the inside of a watch. There's all kinds of little gears that spin to make the hands tick and move, right? So, and in a transmission, every gear that car goes through, there's all kinds of different gears that move and slide to be able to do the end result thing, right? That's what this is for. So depending on, whatever maybe health concerns, whatever goals that they have, if, we find out something like vitamin D is a big thing right now, and vitamin D3, let me just tell you this, vitamin D3 is not a vitamin. It's actually more like a hormone. So let me just say that. But vitamin D is a big thing right now. And yes, it's very important, but depending on how much you do or don't have and more you don't have, will drive all kinds of different processes. Is a little wonky that we need to figure out. When you look at your A1C, okay, how efficiently is your body utilizing the sugars that are in the blood? Is there a backup? Is there some sort of insulin resistance? Are there red blood cells that are bigger than they should be? What's your ferritin count? What's your free ferritin, iron binding content, which has everything to do with oxygen? Which is anemic? Are you anemic? Some people don't even know that. Oh, I'm just anemic. What's that mean? I don't know, I'm anemic. It's like, okay, so there's education that has to be done there, but carrying oxygen to the brain and the rest of the tissues, there's so many things. And if you change one cog in the wheel, it's like, oh, you have that. We need to treat, the A1C. We need to bring your A1C down. It's like, well, hang on a second. Is there something else in the process that is changing that? So there could be something way out here in right field that you're not sure of, you didn't know about, that could be changing exactly what you are looking to change.
Right.
And that's what we figure out.
Yeah. So from a nutritional standpoint, doing the blood work, oftentimes there's recommendations that we're giving. Some of those recommendations are supplemental recommendations, but the important part to also realize is if you're not putting the right stuff in your body from a whole food standpoint, we can get into anti-inflammatory foods and those kind of things, the proper types of protein, quality, proteins that you want to put in your body. If you're not doing that, then the biggest thing is you can't out supplement a bad diet, and you can't out supplement, poor performance and those kind of things. So starting just with the foundational basics of whole foods, and that's something we talk about with a lot of the athletes, and finding, what they like, because there's a lot of athletes out there that are very picky. We had that conversation the other day, and there's, times for moderation and things like that, still enjoying what you want to enjoy, because that's just life. And because there's a mental component of that too. And having to be on a strict diet of just chicken and, asparagus and that kind of thing. It's like, what athlete wants to do that? Not going to happen. Well,
No, just kidding.
But yeah, that's kind of where we start with a lot of it. And then on top of that, to make some of those changes too, can be the supplemental recommendations.
Well, and you're probably kind of baiting me a little bit to say what I normally tell people, and I've said it probably on other podcasts too, is supplements are just that. They are supplements. They are not replacements. Okay. So you're not going to take all of the magnesium you need from a pill. You do not do that. That has to get processed, and it gets processed different ways. Like, well, I need to get all these, so I'll just do it that way and make it easy and just not have to worry about it. You'll worry about it later. Your kidneys and liver will not be very kind to you later if that's all you ever did. There's a lot of great food on this earth still. There's a lot of places that don't build it I say build it for a reason, don't build our food very well anymore, and we don't have to go down that route. We'll touch a little bit on that, I'm guessing. However, it's not a replacement. There is a time to make some replacement moves. However, if you can get 80% of your daily things you need in through, if you can get 100% in, obviously, but if you can get 75, 80% in through fooding, do that.
Yeah. Ideally, we want to have the least amount of supplementation possible. And that's where the blood work comes in, where it's very specific, because the initial recommendations might be, a whole stack of supplements that you're on to get some of those changes within the blood work that we want, so that when we retest in 3-6 months or so, whenever that retesting or redraw is, then some of those changes are made so that we can further our recommendations, so that there's less of a supplementation protocol and more of a lifestyle and
not
food
only
protocol.
that, I mean, you're talking an efficiency too. Like, you want to talk about performance and efficiency, like, that's it. So, not only with like, how do we do this with less supplements, but what do you need right now that your body's not processing, or what do we actually need to supplement? And by finding this, a supplement can be eat more steak.
Yeah.
There's a supplement,
right?
And so the efficiency and the performance you get out of here will transition on the field, on the court, whatever it is you do.
There are supplement and nutrition companies and even food companies that will tie together a role model athlete saying they're taking this, this, and this. And so you're like, oh, well, maybe I should take this, this, and this, because I want to be at that level and be just like this person. And if you just run it by that, then you're wasting a lot of money, because oftentimes you don't necessarily need everything that they're taking, because in a sense, each person is an individual. And that's where we get very specific with what
no different than the whole big weight loss conversations and things. They want you to attach to somebody you wish to be like, and your idols and things like that. Be careful with that, because they want to show you the streamlined process, but to do it in such a way, like, you don't know what their BMR is, you don't know what their goals are, you don't know what their output intake is. Like, there is a reason that those people are on those things, maybe for other than just advertising money or sponsorship,
or they might not even take it.
They might not even take it. They're just usually, but at the same time, if they are, let's just say they are, you see Patrick Mahomes, or, you see any of these, big sport guys that are on all these advertisements, cool. But just take with a grain of salt, whether you're a parent or a student athlete, like, you're not any more like them because you're taking those things. Figure out what it is and why it is they're doing it. If you can do that, have a little more understanding, because you could actually be taking things like creatine's one of those things. Yes, there's a lot of good things about creatine if you need it. Otherwise, your kidneys are going to work very hard to clear it. And so it can cause more problems and filtration and oxygen. Like, there's just so much there. So just keep that in mind.
Next thing I want to touch on, which I think is a big topic and is such an easy fix for a lot of these athletes, is just hydration in general. And you can get some of that through certain foods, but hydration in general is a big question that we get from a lot of parents, a lot of athletes. It's like, how do I know if I'm getting enough water intake? And, water is usually what they're asking. Or what do I use from an electrolyte standpoint? Is it Gatorade? Is it Body Armor? Is it electrolyte packet? How does that play into the role of, how I'm performing, how I'm recovering? But one of the key points that I like to touch with a lot of athletes is the electrolyte conversation, is because most of the time they're sweating profusely, and you're sweating out a lot of those electrolytes that are within your body. So that kind of salty taste you get when you're sweating, those are electrolytes being released from your body in the form through sweat. So if you're not replenishing those, your muscles need that to be able to function at an optimal level. So those, hamstring cramps and calf cramps you're getting kind of when it's hot and muggy out, is one of the reasons why you're getting those, is because those electrolytes are being depleted fast. And if you're not keeping up on that, then it could become an issue and actually take you out of the game.
Here's a hack to that exact scenario. I can tell you what it's not. It's not a lack of bananas.
Right.
So just go ahead and plug that one in right there.
Right.
Like, what do you mean when you have cramps, you eat bananas? It's like, why?
Yeah. And even bananas aren't the best source of potassium.
Right. So it's like, oh, you need more potassium. It's like, well, yeah, but you also need sodium and chloride for muscle contraction. There's like so much more there. The best thing and I've said this on other podcasts too, is it's like when I'd race and I would, sweat a ton. It'd be the middle of July and I'm in a race car. It's 140 degrees. Like some of these NASCAR guys are right now. It's like, I keep a jar of pickles. and that's a whole different conversation. But so just to give you a little bit of an idea of why we do this and take this so seriously, why we want to put this content out, is because you're just going to eat bananas and have the same problem and never fix anything. I'm not saying it's a blood work problem necessarily, but it's like, I don't like pickles. Well, that's too bad. Okay, take a salt tablet.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Salt tablet, banana, those are two totally different things, but there's reasons for that.
Yeah. And another point that I like to make that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people is that if you're not getting enough, let's just say hydration, if you're not hydrating properly, then where do you think the water and the electrolytes go first? And your vital organs are one of those places where it goes first. So if you're not getting enough, then your muscles and tendons and everything that needs that hydration, that lubrication of the joints, it's not getting it because your vital organs are going to pull it first because they need to keep running. And so there's that conversation of also that extended depletion, or that each time you're not getting enough throughout the course of a day, a week, a month, a season, then it's even making other things not function optimally.
So here's my thing about hydration too, is, everybody wants to walk around with their gallon jugs of water, and that's great. Drink a lot of water. However, could you get on board with maybe understanding how you don't need a gallon? Or maybe some people need more than a gallon, but just to go after a gallon because you've seen somebody go after a gallon, or you like carrying around a milk jug full of water, maybe, I don't know. There's a time and place for that. But if you're drinking a gallon of water and you're not getting enough electrolytes in anyway, you're literally diluting the entire body. It's like, well, I've got the same amount of electrolytes in there, but you're drinking twice as much the water you probably should from a performance perspective, or you sweat a lot. And it's like, okay, so what happens is it's osmosis. This is where my biochem side comes out, and I love it because it really does challenge people to think, and it educates them on like, okay, if you have this much electrolytes and you drink all of this water and you dilute it, the best way to do this is talking to student athletes. Hear what I'm saying, don't hear what I'm not saying, is the alcohol conversation. Because it's like, why do you get a double? It's the same amount of alcohol, but you're diluting it over time. It's like, okay, we'll take less soda out of your vodka soda, and you're going to have more of a concentration of vodka, or you're going to put, oh man, it doesn't taste right. It's not giving me the same effect. It's because you diluted it when you got your double or triple and you put extra soda in your vodka. It's the same with the body. So what'll happen is, it's like where there is more concentration of vitamins, water will go. Okay. Where there is less concentration, water will stay, like will pool. And if you don't have that combination balance, or you sweat a ton, lose a lot of those minerals, it's like, okay, well, we don't have enough supplements, or you've got not enough water that you're just dumping all of this out of the sweat. Like, there's so much to take into account there, that if you over dilute, you're not going to be as functional. So if you drink too much water, you're not going to be as functional as or as optimal performance wise as you could be. If you underdo the water and you have all of this concentration, the first drop that goes in, like you're saying, now the gut's going to intake because you've got all of it's going to go to where the nutrients are, not where they need to go. So a lot in the hydration area too.
So to kind of wrap things up, I want you to give a quick, like 30,000 foot view of the key nutrients needed for athletic performance and success, with like protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals. Kind of in general, what are we recommending? And this is, I know, a tough answer for you because it's so generalized, but
I think I know what you're looking for, though. I mean, I would say, I don't mean to be this generalistic, never say always or never, but I'm going to say it anyway. No athlete is taking in enough protein. Period. You're not eating enough protein. And carb load and that's a whole nother conversation. There's a time and place for that. There's a way to do it, and it's not eating your Thursday night football meal for your Friday night game. That's not how that works. Great effort. Love that the parents want to like do that. Keep doing that. Serve them. Have fun with it.
Community.
But just know you're not carb loading. But you're not eating enough protein. So most of them aren't. And, at least a gram of protein per body weight is a real good place to start. You could dial it in, like you said, from here or there. The gallon of water, maybe that's okay if you're a student athlete. I would say they're not drinking enough water either. It's like, if you've got a Stanley and it's 32 to 40 ounces or whatever, drink at least 2 or 3 of those.
With the protein also, I want you to touch on what your body can actually absorb and take in. So if you're wanting, a gram per, pound of body weight, it's like can I eat it all in one meal?
Yeah, there is. You can't eat it all in one meal. That'd be impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really want to. And there's reasons why for that. And you can ask those questions, but it's like eating more than 40 grams of protein in one sitting is not ideal.
Your body's not going to use it.
And again, generalized, yes, but you don't need to be eating more than 40 grams of protein. It's just not efficient.
Right.
You can go for it, but it's not efficient. The time frame, depending on which sport, the time frame, some say 2 hours, some say 90 minutes, some say within an hour. It's like there is a right answer for that. Again, once you narrow down what is that person doing and what are the goals. So there is a timing component of when's most optimal pre and post workout or performance to do that 100%. On the fat side, same thing. What's the goal? What's the physique? What are we doing there? Is there anything else contributing? How do we work those in? What are good fats?
Right.
Pecans,
good fats aren't going to make
cashews.
you fat.
Yeah. Good fats aren't going to make you fat. There's a lot of conversation that we're starting to have, and people are asking me more of too through our.
That's actually a
program.
decent topic to just touch on real quick. Is fats versus carbs? Which one's literally the reason of why you're maybe putting on the weight you don't want to put on from a fat standpoint, and it's going to be the carbs because of the sugar content, the insulin spikes, and then storing it. So. That's something that is a big misconception, and not wanting to eat fats.
Are you an anaerobic player? Are you an aerobic player? That depends on how. There's anaerobic metabolism. There's aerobic metabolism. So are you running the muscles and tissues out of air there? And now you have
marathon, or are you a sprinter?
Exactly. And so now you have to change. So there, yes, while we could touch on that, that's a whole month of podcasts.
Right. That I think is a good general overview. Like we said, we can dial it in even to specific sports, female versus male, position, those kind of things. And I think we'll pick and choose a couple of those to deep dive even more on with the more common athletes and positions that we're seeing. And
eat whole foods. Do not cheap on, if you really wanted to know, do not cheap on organic meat and fruit. And fruit and vegetables, meat and fruit and vegetables. Get the organic stuff if you can. It's the best way to go. Do not eat stuff out of a box.
Right.
Do not eat stuff that's fried in vegetable oil or seed oils or any sort of the nut or seed oils. Avocado oil and coconut oil is always the best choice. If you don't want it to taste like coconut oil, get the refined version. So there's that. Eat more protein. Eat clean stuff. And start there.
I think a fun thing that we can do on a podcast coming up is literally take a case study and kind of show from start to finish how we do the consultation, how we get the blood work back, how we read it, what the recommendations are, just so people can see a picture of how in-depth and how personalized it can actually be.
I should have said this way ahead of time too, because I want to put this very important, not even disclaimer in there. Maybe I'll cut this into the front end. When we say blood work, this is not your average blood work. This is like literally there are 8 pages here. Same little blood draw that your primary care does. But when I say blood work, this is not a CBC and half a comprehensive metabolic panel.
Right.
This is 8 pages of markers that we do for student athletes.
Yeah.
So, and I just say that not because I'm trying to prove a point or because I'm saying you need to do ours. What I'm saying is no matter where you are at, make sure you're not just getting a 2-panel thing. Like there is so much more that you can get from this. And a lot of people just don't know. So I don't say that to say, I know all. I'm still revamping this. We just revamped this one. But I can guarantee you your typical Western medicine panel is not going to cut it.
Sometimes based on what comes back, we even order more.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more, like we said, deep diving that we need to do on certain cases. But we start there with that comprehensive panel. So,
a lot here. I love it. Having more conversations with it. Make sure you ask and reach out. And, if we can be a resource for you or looking for somebody in your area, if we're not there yet, love to help.
Yeah. All right.
Sam's itching to get on the mic. Hit us. What you got?
Since we are talking about nutrition and food, I want to know what your guys' favorite foods are.
I can't answer that in this podcast.
I'd have a snack before this because I knew we were going to be talking about
I'm going to get grilled. You're talking about all this nutrition and you're going to say that? Go ahead.
Well, that's where the life component comes in, where
I'm
it's
a
like
real person.
You got to live. I think in general, if I had to eat one food, it's a category and it'd just be barbecue. And just
Ooh.
the Blackstone, the grill, anything you can put on there, which is a lot of different things. That's kind of where my mind goes. I'm a little bit of a barbecue snob.
Get my brother up here. He's the smoker connoisseur, it seems like. Well, I'm going to answer the question, and I'm going to say lasagna is my favorite food.
Ricotta lasagna.
Yeah, it's got to have ricotta in it, and a good meaty, even with some sausage chunks. Like there is a particular lasagna. I love all lasagna, but there's it's kind of like a last meal kind of thing.
Yeah,
there's a certain way I would prefer it. What did I say earlier? I would say, pizza,
meatloaf, and pizza.
Meatloaf and pizza would be the top three.
Pizza's
I'm
up
a real
there.
person. I like pizza and beer.
Pizza's up there
Yes.
for me, but yeah,
a good pizza,
pickle pizza.
Good.
Ooh,
you haven't had pickle pizza yet.
I want to try your pickle pizza.
I love pickles, so I'm kind of enticed, but it's kind of like
it's got ranch on it.
Ooh,
you like ranch? No, you don't like the white condiments.
Nope. Wings and ranch.
What like a garlic aioli?
I don't like aiolis. Okay. Nope. I'm out.
Because they could substitute that maybe.
Ketchup. That's what you get.
Pickles and ketchup.
Ketchup and barbecue sauce are my condiments of choice.
You could put pickles on a barbecue chicken pizza.
That would be really good, actually.
Would be really good.
Yeah.
That's mouth-watering.
Okay. Yum.
I'm good. I'm a savory over sweet. So there's the other nutrition question, and to make this longer than the 20 minutes we thought we were going to have, is a lot of people ask too, not only what's your favorite food, but I ask people, are you a salty or sweet person? And I'm the savory, salty. I will take Cajun Tex-Mex of some sort, peanuts, that spicy Cajun style, over a cookie every day, or gummy bears. And I love me some gummy bears. I'm not a big sweets person.
What about like a kitchen sink cookie that's got potato chips in it? Ooh. Savory.
Nope.
Dr. Dustin.
Pretzels.
There's very few things I like the sweet and savory. It's like, no, it's like I'm not going to put salt on my pancakes. Like, no, that's supposed to be sweet. Like salted caramel would be the only thing I would go to there. But like, I don't really like the contrast. Like pineapple on I'm not a pineapple on your pizza person.
No.
It's like, it belongs on pizza. I'm not here to debate it. I don't judge you for liking it.
The answer is no.
But it's like, I would prefer the savory. If I wanted a salad or a piece of fruit, I'd order it.
That's true. Yeah.
So there you go.
Love it.
Cool. All right. Well, next time, what are we talking about next time? Do we already have that on deck?
It's up in the air right now, but
I'm sure it'll be something.
It'll be good.
It'll be good. It always is good. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave that to be a mystery. Probably some more nutrition stuff if I had to guess. If not, we'll see you next time on the Pure Playbook. See ya.